Scrooge.
Yeah,
You
my
made
man.
it. You
I
made
did.
it.
God help me. Good Lord. I deserve a medal for this.
Well, we haven't seen each other for a while, actually.
It's been a bit. It's been a bit.
Been off for a couple weeks, but
yeah, I mean, we only had Messenger and all the nude photos exchanged, and that's the only thing been able to keep us by.
Yeah, well, I don't want to talk too much about that because I want.
Why not?
I want our audience to really focus on what we're talking about tonight. Troll 2.
Yeah.
Well known as one of the worst movies of all time, and
it truly deserves the recognition.
I'm honestly glad that you have that opinion, to be honest.
What better way to celebrate the wonderful month of October than watching one of the shittiest so-called scary movies I've ever seen in my entire life?
So,
Thank you.
You're saying like it's not scary? Is that what you're saying?
It was terrifying, but not in any of the ways that they were hoping.
Yes.
The idea.
Okay. All right. Now, I didn't know if that's what you meant, but we'll get right into it, I guess. And I guess that makes me AC.
And I'm Scrooge.
And these are
real bad movies.
Especially this one.
God, I hate you. I'm going to make a tally board of how many of these awful shit shows you end up exposing me to.
Oh, yeah. So we started watching this tonight. We started watching it about an hour and a half ago. Took us a little bit of time to get through it.
Yeah.
Of course, as you'd believe. But I want to go into it saying that I, first of all, have seen this movie so many times. And I told you I've seen it.
Hold on. Are you proud of the fact? Like, are you proud?
I mean...
Like, you say that with, like, some kind of almost, like, just a pep in your step of, like, oh, I've seen this so many times.
Okay, well, I'm not an Olympian winning a goddamn gold medal, okay? But I do actually...
Actually, though, I would totally be okay with an Olympic sport where you watch bad movies and you see how long you can last for.
I'd give it a shot, honestly. That'd be kind of cool. But, no, what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted...
Yeah.
I've seen this movie so many times, and what a better way to start October than to share the highly unpleasant nature of this movie to you, Scrooge, because I know that you are not a huge horror guy. So I figured let's make you a horror guy. And to be honest, this movie isn't really horror. Yeah,
no, it's missing a couple letters. It's horrible. So it actually technically could be considered horror because it's horrible. So yeah.
No. I mean, like this isn't horror though. I mean, I've watched this movie so many times, and I always thought it was kind of with the music I was telling you and the little bit of the atmosphere here and there. But no, it's not. I mean, trolls by themselves and goblins is fantasy. It's not horror at the end of the day. And people were saying this is like the worst horror movie of all time. It's not really. And there's also a little bit of comedic effect that we'll get to, and a little bit of almost family fantasy film at times as well.
Family fantasy.
Well, the premise of it surrounding around a young boy, like, was this movie when it was made? Was this intentionally made for a younger audience because they made the protagonist a little kid?
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, I'm thinking way too deep into this, but
I thought you had like some evidence behind this.
No,
you just made that up.
Well, most horror movies don't have a kid as the main protagonist. So
are you sure though? Was it Poltergeist? Didn't that have a kid in it?
Yeah, there's a kid in it, but it's not the main protagonist.
Hold on, wait.
You got The Shining. There's a kid in it.
There you
but
go.
He's not.
Okay.
He's not. Danny's not the main protagonist. That's Jack, which is Jack Nicholson.
He's not a protagonist in that. He's
no,
still like
the kid. I'm saying
the antagonist.
I'm saying the kid isn't. No, I guess. But the protagonist can be evil, as we learned. I don't really know English shit. Okay, I didn't really pay attention.
Okay,
in English.
well, remember, protagonist is the hero.
Yes.
Antagonist is the villain. So someone they could be like an anti-hero.
Then who the hell's the protagonist in Shining?
Probably the kid. I mean, or okay, maybe Jack Nicholson can be it at the beginning, but then he turns.
That's what I think.
Into
I think he's both.
Antagonist.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Anyways, I don't even remember what the hell we're talking about. Troll 2.
You were trying to tell me that it was made. You think it was made for it was more of a fantasy elements because
Parts of it really feels like it because I know that in the 80s, fantasy films with little kids were big. The Never-Ending Story. Have you ever heard of that before?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've heard of it. It never did anything for me, so I didn't
Princess
watch it.
Bride, which we were talking about.
That one's a
So,
classic.
and we'll talk about the movie essentially rips off Princess Bride in the beginning, which
It's
we'll
also not
discuss.
to mention how many rip-offs of fantasy movies there were in the 80s.
Yeah.
They had so many like different fairy tale based ones that no one give, like any shits about at all.
Yeah, and I think fantasy was kind of like slowly evolving in the 80s because then you were also telling me about like Highlander as well as Conan the Barbarian. It's not fantasy.
Yeah,
really.
it is.
Is it?
No, yeah,
okay,
absolutely. Oh, so that's actually a great point. Fantasy can, like it's a wide range of like where you could take fantasy because like you said, I mean, you can kind of use fantasy as a underlying theme, and then you can add in, horror, sci-fi, all this kind of different stuff. So it ends up being like a weird blender of different things. So you have like a lot of things in the 80s that were straight up fantasy movies, and then the other ones were like, are they fantasy? I don't know. And then you also have the whole practical effects aspect of the 80s where they're really trying to like test the boundaries of how far fantasy could go or how far these movies could go with like the stuff they could actually do, and like some good results, some looking really awful. So
depending, because sometimes I think the 80s had that really cool thing of like the matte paintings and the cool like backgrounds and kind of
cool
like
makeup and
practical effects too as well. Where this movie, like I said, Troll 2. First of all, there's no trolls in this movie.
There's two things I knew about Troll 2. Okay, there's two things. One, the movie's called Trolls 2, and there's no trolls in it. And then of course, the scene with the kid screaming, "Oh my god!"
Yes,
because
and we will get to that. But Troll 2 by itself, the more I watch it, the more I realize it's like almost comedic, and we'll get into the background of it. But it came out in 1990, the glorious year of 1990. In this film, we see some references to things around 1990, as we were talking about the Batman poster in his bedroom.
Which is, again, we've talked about numerous times on this podcast. There's something weird about 90s films or
1990.
Yeah, it's
1990.
I'm saying 90. I meant literally 90s films, as in movies that were made in 1990 or released in 1990.
Like the year 90.
Like
okay.
Actually, literally 90s movies, as in the 1990s movies.
Okay.
The year that there is that weird transition from it coming out of the 80s and not yet becoming the 90s. So a lot of it is literally, it's almost like carryover.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still in the 80s. That's why most of these movies that we watch that end up being released in 1990 are like just like almost leftover 80s movies.
From the 80s. Well, Samurai Cop was a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
It was made in 90 or 91, but those mullets and that.
Yeah, literally. Music,
look,
everything.
music,
like, straight up. Same thing with
cars.
this. Literally, the kid has stuff from the 80s as his posters.
Mm-hmm.
That Keaton's Batman was 89. So it was just the tail end of the 80s. So it's like, I don't know what it is, and I can't remember if that was the same thing in actually good movies from the 1990s, or if we're just talking about the bad ones we've watched. Because definitely the bad ones we've watched haven't been able to let go of the 80s.
Well,
sure.
Most of the ones that we've watched so far have been early 1990s. I don't think we've crossed into late 90s at all, to be honest.
No, but I'm talking about like good movies from the the year 1990.
Yeah. Well, like here, I'm just looking at a list of stuff. The latest movie that we have watched, the like closest to 2020 was Anaconda in 97.
Yeah.
And then T-Rex right behind it, Theodore Rex in 95.
Oh my God.
We'll get to that one day. We'll get to that. I mean, we already got to it, but I mean...
We get to that one day. I don't want to get back to it, is what... Okay, I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, well, our viewers will get to that one day. Because it is Spooktober, and we're talking about Troll 2. A little bit of background about this movie. Like I said, I've seen it... $5. Oh, yeah. It's 100% off the bat. It was not made for a lot of money. First of all, what they love to do, which I think I briefly talked about it in Ghost House a little bit, foreign directors and studios, what they love to do, since the video market, the VHS market, was huge during the 80s, was they would take a semi-decent, popular, successful, in its own ways, not very successful, title of a film and essentially make it into some kind of franchise. So For an example, American directors did the same thing as well. No Retreat, No Surrender.
Yeah.
They ended up having like 5 or 6 sequels and shit like that. They would take the name of the first film and then reduplicate it and kind of say, you know what, it did well under this name. So if I sell it under this other name and I say it's a sequel to it, then maybe it'll sell, you know?
Yeah, I think that's just like, I'd have to know more about market. I feel like that has just been a basic thing that has been part of. As soon as like the sequel was invented, like, as soon as the sequel started becoming a thing, then studios are like, oh, this is great because something's successful, that means we'll just take it and we can instantly just slap the name on there and everyone's gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to do an actual, go back at history and think about all the different movies that were sequels at the beginning that actually became successful. But God, that created a monster, because the idea that just turned them into these these idiot studio heads. They're like, oh, because in this case, Trolls made whatever amount of money, so I guess that means that there is just a market begging for Trolls too. So we're gonna hop on our creative money train, and we're gonna make Trolls 2, baby, because that made. You know what? Hold on. I wanna check and see how much the first one made.
Real quick, while you're looking for that, Hellraiser did this. The Hellraiser, Hellraiser Pinhead.
I know enough about it. Too,
yeah. One of the movies within the Hellraiser sequels and stuff was actually a script for a completely different movie that they said, you know what, let's just put Hellraiser in it. So at the end of the day, honestly, if you're looking to sell your movie, just take a popular name of a popular, title and go into it. What's up? Okay, so you're looking at it?
Yeah, this movie Troll was made on the budget estimate of $1,100,000. Wow. The gross. Okay, I was expecting something better than this, the greenlight a sequel, but the gross was worldwide gross of $5,450,815. Now, technically, money-wise, that is a good deal because the idea is that you make at least you have to make back your budget at least, and then you try to double it. So technically, it did do that.
Yeah.
So I guess in their minds, that meant it was successful because all it needed to actually make it back was making $2 million. So they made an extra $3 million. But then also you have to take in marketing or anything else. So if they did anything for marketing and everything else,
they just didn't make money.
Right. So that means they. No, actually, no. In this case, it was a tiny, and
just the
smallest amount. But
I'm
the
saying,
idea
like,
that someone was sitting around and going, "Damn, hot damn." Okay, this shows that the world is ready for Trolls 2, baby.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, let's get into it. So the guy who directed the first Troll movie that you're looking at right now, John Carl Buechler, I think his name was.
It's an awful name.
Yeah, he worked on a couple of the Friday the 13th movies. He worked on, Halloween. He worked on Halloween 4. He worked on a lot of sequels to popular horror films at the time. So he was able to make his own film, and I guess Troll was maybe a passion project of his. It was one of his first movies.
It looks like it, because I've never seen the film. Looking at the pictures, like you were mentioning, it looks like a fantasy movie.
It is.
Like
it is.
fantasy,
It's more. I think it's more family oriented.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Even from I haven't seen it, but looking from the pictures, it looks like that. So the fact that they went and made this garbage for the second one doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like I said, you take a name, especially in VHS. I mean, I don't know if video rental stores were that big, but I know the VHS market was really big in the 80s, and a huge part of, the 80s / video market was somebody's like, I liked the first Troll movie, I'm automatically going to like this. They think that about remakes nowadays. You ever think about that? Like remakes nowadays, they're like, okay, I liked the first movie, I'm obviously gonna like the remake, but that's really not the point anymore.
It literally that has become the name of the game when it comes to sequels. They just literally think that because this has in the title, or there's something familiar, there's something about the familiar things, they think that automatically people are just gonna come.
Yep.
But yeah, so the first one came out in 86. So
yep, and then
4 years later.
4 years, yep.
They're like, 4 years later, damn, you know what this world needs is Trolls 2, baby.
God. And Troll 2 was directed by a man named Claudio Fragrasso, and I know him a little bit because he made a movie called Zombie 3, which I heard it's a fun one because So Zombie 3 was also made with a director called Lucio Fulci. I could talk about this for hours.
You should see the look. I get just from looking at you when AC starts talking about Italian horror. I think he just likes big Italian men in general. But I just look over at him. He's just like, yeah, this, and that's the with Mario Benelli and spicy meatball, fanazza.
Oh my
Start
god, not
getting-
that Italian. Oh
You
my
just mentioned like
Okay,
4
well,
Italian names.
Listen, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, called The House by the Cemetery, was directed in co-part with the guy who directed this movie. So you'll see me throughout this whole. You'll hear me. You'll see me.
Yes, I'll see you. I
You'll
get
see me.
the pleasure of the front row seat.
You'll
baby.
see me give the benefit of the doubt in this movie because this director has worked with one of my favorite directors in Italian horror.
Listen,
So
I'll give you. Listen, I love Italian directors in westerns. Spaghetti westerns are some of my favorite. Sergio Leone.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorites. So I can give you that, but I can't give you Italian horror when they're serving me up this awful spaghetti pasta dinner. This is
It's
not
green.
Yeah,
Green.
green. See, this is like there's quality. Like you go to an Italian family's homemade feast where they're trying to kill you by food. Then you go to Olive Garden. That's like the difference. We're going to Olive Garden, but not even a good Olive Garden. We're going to the back of an Olive Garden with the trash. This is what this is. This is what Troll 2 is. Okay, is the backwoods Olive Garden dump heap of Italian food. Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's discuss a little bit about this before we even actually get into the plot, because it's been 15 minutes and we still haven't even gotten into the plot. I'm sorry, people out there.
Apologize
If they're still listening by chance, they probably have tuned out. Let's start with the trivia. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the trivia.
Yeah,
you
please.
already looked into it a little bit.
I saw one. I stopped as soon as I saw the one for you.
So the entire cast of this movie went to a casting call, like we did for
How we met.
By the way, everyone listening out there, True Adventures of Wolf Boy, I think by the end of October 2020, will be on streaming services.
Yes, sir.
So you can catch a glimpse of us. That's not. I don't even think we're in the film.
Nope. You can behold the sights of not seeing us in carnival scenes that were cut from the movie.
Yeah, we were there for
So-
3 days?
Yeah,
8
I was
hour
there for
days?
4 at least. 4, and then we missed. I think I missed a day, but literally we were in there. We were trying to jump into every shot we could, but
You can only do so much. You
fucking
know?
John Turturro
Yeah.
took out all our spotlight.
Hollywood, it's a tough town. You know.
Garbage. All right, you were saying about the casting.
Okay, so the entire cast of this movie, when they went to this casting call, they all wanted to be extras, and they all ended up in leading roles. Isn't that just beautiful?
It's amazing.
Because, like you were saying in this movie, well, we were saying, kind of collectively, that some of the actors overact, almost like they're stage actors, like
Yeah,
they're in
absolutely.
musicals,
Yep,
like they're in
theater.
plays. But then you have these other actors, especially like The Family, for an example. They are just so bland, and
Yep.
they, like you said, it looks like they're reading off of
Cue cards.
a cue card, which
Yeah.
they probably were at certain
Uh-huh.
parts. Let's get into more trivia, though. The director is still angry about the film's poor reception. He crashed a cast reunion Q&A. By the way, there's a movie called Best Worst Movie that was directed by the little kid in this movie. He grew up and he directed this movie, and it's essentially a documentary about Troll 2.
Really?
We'll talk more about that as well.
Okay.
After he was escorted out of the room, he heckled the cast from the hallway, calling them liars and dogs as they answered fan questions. Now-
Liars and dogs.
Yep. I don't even know.
Man, one of my favorite things is when directors or anybody gets butthurt over their own movies and they start going after critics and reporters.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite. I love those meltdowns. Those
It's
are
just not realizing that everyone can have an opinion, but
great. Don't worry. Yeah, who cares?
we'll do one more because a lot of the other ones will tie in at certain parts of the movie. Co-writer Rossella Drudy, it was his wife. So it was the director's wife of the movie. She co-wrote this film.
Okay.
Got the idea to write the movie after several of her friends became vegetarians at the same time. Oh my God! So that explains
that was the inspiration
for.
So
the
what
movie.
she's saying is that vegetarians are the root of all evil, which I am totally in agreement with. So
Agreed, 100%. Well,
give me meat in my mouth every day and twice on Sunday.
just like at the end of this film,
Yes.
meat in the mouth has toxins, I think they say, and
Yeah.
we'll get into
whatever
it.
she was yelling or screaming really loudly.
Essentially. Okay, well, this film begins in one of my favorite openings of a movie where we just flash right in. There's no gentle fade, there's no lead in, there's no anything. There is a man running through a forest with
Yes.
a narration of the grandpa.
Correct.
Grandpa, I'm going to have to get these names out.
I
'cause
am almost certain I know this guy's voice, and I'm probably gonna prove. So I'll tell you.
This was his only movie, by the way.
Okay. But I know I've heard that voice, so it might have been something not movie related. It was something else.
This is literally his only thing on his IMDb.
You sure?
Yep, I looked it up. Like I said, they were all extras. Okay.
What?
Yeah, he sounds familiar because he looks familiar,
No,
and
it's
he
his
also
voice is
yeah
what sounded
yeah
familiar.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He looks and sounds very familiar, and I thought the same thing as well. But let's get into it.
Okay.
I know you're looking, but let's get into it.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'm not ignoring you.
So essentially, the film starts. It's a fairy tale, pretty much. I never really So when I used to watch this movie a lot, and I'm glad that you could follow the pace. It took me a couple watches to understand what was going on in this beginning part. This beginning of this movie essentially just sets up exposition for the whole movie.
Yeah.
It basically tells the entire movie in this short fairy tale. Pretty much, there's this guy named Peter, which is such a classic fairy tale name.
Peter.
He's got this dumbass pointy hat.
Yeah, he's got the. It's like it's like a really bad like Ricola commercial.
Yeah. It's
so-
like what is that? Switzerland or some kind of.
Yeah, that's the cough drops, the lozenges.
Yeah. I'm thinking of like
So-
the area though, because I know.
Oh yeah, Switzerland, like the.
'cause he always blows that bugle horn, Ricola.
Yeah, the Lederhosen.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you have this like weird story while the grandpa is talking over it, and Grandpa Seth. I keep wanting to say Grandpa Seb because I always felt like they just put like a bullshit name, but Grandpa Seth is essentially like the paternal wise figure that somehow knows so much about trolls for some reason,
Yes.
which they don't even say the name troll in this movie, by the way. They just say goblins.
Goblin. It's all about goblins.
But if you were to ask a fantasy nerd, trolls and goblins are two different things.
Yeah.
Two completely different things. You're looking at me like, I know the difference.
Yes.
But there is, because trolls to me,
Please enlighten me.
when I think trolls, I think like, the old story of like the troll by the bridge or under the
Yes.
bridge. I think of something huge and giant. These things are fucking short little midgets. And apparently I think they hired like little kids to be in these costumes and stuff like that.
I'm very sorry for them.
So
I'm very sorry for that child abuse.
we are really, there is a lot of child abuse in this movie, and
Yes.
we'll talk about it as we get into it. So essentially, Grandpa Seth, his whole thing of the story is that Peter meets this girl, and this girl feeds him this really weird green concoction.
Yep, and he just accepts it
Yeah.
without asking any question, just instantly. And I was
you
dying on the
would
couch.
do that though, right?
Oh, yeah, she was hot enough, sure. Absolutely.
You would just take green crap into your mouth.
Absolutely, as long as she was hot.
Yeah,
I'm
see?
very easy.
And this kind of just it creates an almost conversation about how oblivious men are and how we're just so easily
You are
susceptible.
such an optimist. You're an idiot. You understand that? There's no way in hell me watching. I'm thinking about, yes, absolutely. It was a metaphor for how dumb we are as men, as creatures. And give me.
Hey, it's called
You suck.
sarcasm. It's called sarcasm. Okay.
See, I can't. How can I tell that's sarcasm when you have defended some of this garbage we watch? Okay.
I have, but let's just get
It's
into it
fine.
more, okay?
Fine.
Let's
I'll remember
just-
this. I'm putting it on the list.
Oh wow, okay. So
Feeds them the
so he
crap.
feeds him the crap, and he starts sweating profusely of this
Yeah.
like green, gross
Sweat. The scream.
I said green because it's a combination of me to green slime. It's like green.
You know, it works. Honestly,
it is.
It's like green. It's like green sweat. That's what it looks like.
It's like gross and essential, but we don't know what happens after that. But we find out later in the film what happens when you do eat it. You turn into a goblin. Sorry to ruin. I know people out there. They're like, I haven't seen the movie. I wanted to listen to these guys, and they're gonna spoil it for me. They're very
totally ruin it
upset,
for
and I'm
me.
sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
So,
Our heart goes out to you. Thoughts and prayers. Hashtag.
Yep, we would give you a refund if we could, but
I don't want to give anything to.
But we're not
any
going to.
peasant.
Peasants, which we
That's right.
we will talk about. There's a part where in the film coming up after this where he does talk about peasants. I don't know if you caught that line. It's one of my favorite lines in the movie. We'll get to it. So Grandpa Seth is kind of just giving Joshua, he's giving Joshua this kind of like spiel about all these goblins. He's reading this book, whatever. Then Joshua's creepy mom comes in.
Yeah, she got the weirdest stare.
The most terrifying, all right, here's a quick trivia right here. So in the Best Worst movie about Troll 2,
Yeah.
they go to her house to try to get an interview, right?
Yeah.
She's like a shut-in. She's like recluse. She has a bunch of like mental problems and stuff like that. Like, it's really sad. This woman literally isn't. You could see it in her eyes in this movie, dude.
Well, you know what? If I starred in Troll 2 as well, I'd most likely probably be in a mental institution.
Oh yeah, dude.
So I understand.
I think they do get an interview, and it's just really sad. Like, she can like barely talk, and she's just like just mentally messed up, and it's a sad thing. But so this mom comes in and is like, who are you talking to? And Joshua's like, Grandpa Seth. And then we zoom out and we see that Grandpa Seth isn't there.
He's dead.
It's all in his head.
Dead. He's talking to a dead grandpa.
Yep. So
surprise, surprise.
So then from there, the mom goes to check up on the daughter,
which is one of my favorite parts.
Holly, her name is, by the way. Yes.
Holly.
We get this amazing 80s montage. Of her working out. And what my favorite part about this montage is we'll go from lifting weights to a shot of a bear, like just like a stuffed bear in her bedroom, then back to her lifting, then a picture of Johnny Depp, I think, is on her wall, and
no, it was Johnny Depp and
Tom Cruise.
Yes, Tom Cruise. Yes. Yeah,
I remembered. I watched it.
Yeah, I know, because you love Tom Cruise. Get your motor going, Top Gun.
So like montages, you want to focus more on the action, but in this sense, it's more like let's focus on the location and the atmosphere of the room.
Like music video, I love it. It was amazing because she's over there doing the 80s workout in 1990, and she had the weirdest hips I've ever seen in a woman.
Yep.
They're literally like these V-shaped like bones sticking out.
I think it's because how she's laying down. She's laying down really weird.
Maybe. Okay.
As well as that, like, what is that? That tight leotard on her, and
she is glistening, not with sweat, but most likely oil.
Someone
just like rubbed her down, because for some reason that's exactly how everybody works out. But
if you're doing a drinking game right now, take a drink every time we talk about some kind of childhood endangerment, sexual assault, sexual harassment. Yes. We're going to get to a lot of it.
You're going to be an alcoholic by the time you're done.
100%. Well, there's one right there.
Mom comes knocking in. Remember? Mom comes knocking in.
Yes.
Opens the door. She literally just looks at her as she's working out.
While the montage is happening.
While the montage is happening, then she's just like, you
shakes
silly
the head
kid, and walks away.
Yep. Shakes the head and walks away. And yeah, so like we said, if you're drinking out there, go ahead, because this girl definitely was either sprayed with a water bottle or oil bottle or whatever. They wanted her to look seductive.
Probably the fat Italian director was like, "Oh, let me oil you down so that way you're all ready to go. Mwah, perfect.
Let me oil you like the bread and butter.
Oh, yeah, down the breast and up the ass. Ah, very good, very good. You are ready for the steak."
Oh God. So then she joins her husband in bed. Oh God, what is his name?
I don't know.
Michael. That's what his name is, Michael, which they don't really use his name too much.
He's my favorite actor of the movie.
Oh, want to know a funny story about him?
Yeah,
he was actually a dentist.
Oh my God.
So he wasn't an actor at all.
Really? That is shocking.
I know.
That's straight up shocking. I thought this was Academy Award winning
material.
material.
Michael's sitting there and he's talking to his wife essentially about how they're going to go on this family trip to this little town called Nilbog. And he goes, I don't know the exact quote, but it's essentially like, we're going to live like our ancestors did, like farmers and peasants. He was like 100 years ago when you know,
like what the hell he's talking about? He's talking about swapping his family out or whatever.
A home exchange vacation, which I actually believe that is a real thing. There was a TV show a while back about that where they would switch houses and stuff. I
remember that was like wife swap though.
Pretty much, yeah.
But they wouldn't switch the entire
house. There would be one person,
But whatever, I don't know. People are weird, so.
So they go to Nilbog, which we'll find out later is a spooky little town.
Oh, so spooky.
So right now, if you're at home right now, write down the word Nilbog and kind of just look at it because
Nilbog.
It says it in itself what it really is. But we'll get to that. We don't want to rush into it too bad. So.
Nice
so essentially, Grandpa Seth was telling Michael, these are like vegetarian goblins who essentially want to mutate him and his family and all this. He's kind of like forewarning him as they're going on this vacation because they all get ready to go. Mm-hmm. But before they get ready to go, the daughter, Holly, is interrupted. There's a creepy little scene where Michael's in his bed, or Joshua's in his bed, and he's going to bed, and he's thinking about what Grandpa Seth said about the goblins and all this kind of stuff.
All this spooky stuff.
And then someone's at his window, and who is it? It's one of the weird. I don't even know if there was names in it, to be honest.
Yeah, there were.
Elliot.
Just...
I think Elliot was the one. So Elliot is Holly's boyfriend. And we get this dialogue. Can you explain the dialogue?
Can I explain the dialogue?
For this scene alone.
Oh, let's see. So
what is it?
If I remember correctly, it was she's working out. They come knocking on the door and freak her out, and then all of a sudden, she throws the two friends out because she just has this unbridled hatred towards his friends group or whatever. And he comes in and he starts talking about like a nocturnal rapture, or I know rapture was in there. He said something about a nocturnal rapture, not making any sense, and they start making out. And then she starts talking about it's either me or
they
your
don't
boys.
make out. They don't even kiss or anything.
Yeah, they kissed.
No.
Yeah, they did.
Did they?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You were paying attention.
Oh yeah, I'm like tractor beam. I'm just like, oh yeah, they're making out.
Oh yeah. So, but the one thing she does say is,
oh wait, no, because I'm trying to, because like I remember my brain was fried after the first couple lines of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
He said about the nocturnal rapture. Then she says about, because she starts nagging him about him and his boys, which is just, this freaking bitch.
Yeah.
Keeps nagging on the boys, and then she says that. Yeah, if you want, he's like, what about my friends? And she's like, oh, if you want to keep your virginity forever. And what was the next two lines? I'm trying to remember.
Well, it was about essentially saying that I'm not into group sex.
Yes. She's like, if you want to be a virgin for the rest of your life, your friends are, I'm not into group sex. What?
It came out of nowhere, and it's pretty much him saying like, her saying that pretty much, you know what, Elliot, you're hanging around with your friends so much, and you're gonna bang them, and we're not gonna have group sex. All this like shit that comes out of nowhere.
It makes no sense.
Like I said, these are two separate problems that each person playing this character doesn't understand completely, because the girl Holly in herself doesn't understand why she has this problem where she's just being attached, and which we'll get to the unattached lingo later.
Sure.
But this girl is literally acting attached, crazy. She's kind of just acting out. She's playing out psycho over him. But he, at the same time, he keeps saying like about his boys, but he doesn't have actual acting skills to show us that he is, actually, I guess, like one of the guys, because it's the weirdest thing, because he keeps talking about his boys. He barely is with the boys half the movie, and even when he's with them, there's no connection between any of them.
Oh, there's a lot of sexual tension.
There's
so much sexual tension.
If you're out there drinking, go right ahead.
Because they love a couple of gratuitous shots of them in bed together, naked.
And he's pretty much like Elliot, her boyfriend, is essentially like, Holly, you know what? I'm gonna make it up to you. I'll be there tomorrow.
I'm gonna come on a trip with you.
Yeah, and she's like, if you love me, you'll be there and whatever. So then we just cut directly to them in the car.
Yes.
On the way to Nilbog. Uh-huh. She's crying and really upset about everything.
Very woodenly.
Really, really awkwardly. And we find out that Elliot and his boys are in an RV for some reason. This girl, first of all, looks like she's 14, 13. Mm-hmm. This dude literally looks like he's like 15.
The same, and he's driving a trailer like RV.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just driving it in the middle of.
Yeah, he knows exactly where they're going. Like they haven't discussed where they're like exactly where they're gonna be, even if this was an actual town.
Yeah,
they don't even know where they're going.
There's no cell phones in the late 80s, if you didn't know that at all. So how the hell are they gonna know, one, where they're going, two, how are they communicating to each other?
Yep.
We don't know anything. So they're in the car. And there's some weird tension between everybody because, Holly's upset about everything. So the mom suggests this great idea. Let's sing that song that I really liked. I think that's what she says to the son.
Yeah, she said, sing that song I really like. And he's like, no, I don't really want to, Mom. She's like, oh, come on, sing it. And then all of a sudden he's like, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
But then I love from here it cuts directly to this like weird country song. It's like
because that's the stereotypical, hey, family's out on a country road trip, bom da ding da ding da ding da dong.
Yep.
Because you gotta have that country twang to really showcase you're on a family trip.
Yep. And so we get this weird cut scene where they're still in the car. he's starting to feel out of it a little bit, Joshua or
Yeah,
whatever.
the kid.
And then we get these really cool like shots. I say cool.
Yeah,
Well,
why'd you?
you won't say cool. These like cool like weird
I say cool when something's cool.
fish. Well, they're like fish lens shots where they're like weird kind of wide shots, and it's just really creepy looking, and they're like looking down at him, so the mom and the dad are kind of looking down at him. It's just a perspective of the child, obviously, but everyone looks like really creepy and menacing, and he's starting to sweat green and whatever, and then they turn into goblins.
Goblins.
The one has the weirdest face, and you were laughing at that.
Yeah, because it's the one like whoever did the practical effects of the suit like made it so the face is completely stiff. Like some of them have like either like a lot of the so-called quote goblins, their eyes are either blacked out or it's the way the suits are made where you can't see the eyes. But
Which
this one's
works, yeah.
That one, yeah. Actually, I'll give it to them on that. That was better. The one I laugh about it because the one just has giant bug eyes.
Yeah.
That just stick out and do nothing, so they don't even move. So you can clearly see it's just nothing but makeup, or it's a suit prosthetic.
Maybe the person doing a lot. I've heard a lot of this about bad practical effects because back in the time the quality of TV wasn't that good. A lot of the time they thought they could get rid of, like they thought they can get away with having really shitty practical effects. I have heard this before. I don't know if it's a true thing, but because obviously it wasn't HD, it wasn't whatever, like they thought you could, think about like watching old VHSs when you were younger versus watching a Blu-ray of the same movie. You kind of notice more, and like bad practical effects can stand out in new HD releases.
Well, yeah, but I think that's literally because I was just real quick sign. I was watching Highlander the other day, which shout out to Highlander, which is a great cheesy 80s cult classic. There's a part where I literally learned that they put in some visual effects of like back in the day before computer generated. They had like the almost like drawn animation to try to simulate stuff. Yeah. So in the scene, he's gaining power from killing one of the foes, and all of a sudden, he's being lifted up and he's getting this power, and it was done to hide the wires, but ultimately actually it drew more attention to the wires of him being held up. So I think it's like I kind of get what you're saying about they were thinking the crap quality of the
just the TVs
of the TVs or whatever would cover for it, but I think at times it actually makes it worse because when something really starts looking shitty, then you're like looking for more things that look shitty, and then you end up finding it anyways. So
especially when they put it like that close to the camera, like when they show that puppet's face, it's so close. Yeah,
it's completely up close.
If it was like in the background, kind of far away, whatever. But
but so that's why I was laughing at that one.
Well, they do that in Batman actually. The Michael Keaton Batman in the beginning. I don't know if you remember. It's actually a drawing animation of him walking. I think it's like one of the first shots where he sees the goons on top of the building. If you remember that.
Yeah, I'm talking about at the beginning.
Yeah, and then he like walks away into the shadows. That's actually a drawing animation. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
Yeah, there's a shot right before he attacks those goons on the top of that building or whatever. What did they do? I don't even remember. They like forced those people at gunpoint for their money or whatever after the movie, whatever. But there's a shot of Batman walking away, and it's drawn. It works though, because it's dark and it makes sense, and it's
about how you sell it and how you if you sell it right. That's what movie magic's all about. Is being able to take things that would look goofy to you and I if we saw it up close, and then use camera angles, lighting, everything to make it work.
But this does not work. This is bad. So
negative.
Joshua, after this bizarre goblin dream, wakes up and says he needs to go he needs. Well, actually, the mom is like. He's like, can you please pull over? Because they drive by and he sees Grandpa.
Yeah.
And what's the sign say? He's holding a sign, Grandpa. I remember you pointed it out.
Yeah, it said help.
Stop them.
Yeah, stop them.
Yeah,
stop
maybe
them.
that's what it was, or help or something.
Stop them.
So he pulls over and he's like, pull over, and she's like, do you have to puke? He's like, I have to puke. I'm like, wow, phenomenal dialogue in this movie, dude. The screenplay was incredible. Which let's talk about the screenplay real quick. So it was a rumor, I believe it was in Best Worst Movie, where they had offered to edit the script and help the script because the Italian director, not his native language, obviously English, is not his native language. So they were like, hey, we'll help you make it sound more normal because this sounds like it's fucking going through a Google Translator, like we'll normalize it. And he was like, no, that's not my vision. And look what happened. We get
Idiot.
some beautiful dialogue in this movie.
That classic dialogue.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to more of it for especially between the boys. The boys are acting like boys in this movie, correct?
That classic.
That classic. Yeah. See what was that? T-Rex?
Yeah, that classic scene.
See T-Rex for that. We'll release it someday. Maybe it might be a hidden episode.
God.
If
Good
we ever
stuff.
get a Patreon, that's
Yeah.
a good thing to go from, is to say, hey, if you pay us $10 a month, you could listen to our classic episodes.
Yeah, that classic.
So let's get into it. Michael, I keep saying Michael. Josh, I keep thinking Michael, because Michael sounds like a little kid's name in a sense.
It is, but Michael, isn't that the dad?
This is dad.
Yeah, okay.
So Michael's son, Joshua, yeah. So Joshua, has them pull over. He runs outside and he sees Grandpa Seth standing on the side of the road, talking to him, saying, you got to stop them, whatever. And just a classic plot device, I guess, of whatever. And then, of course, they back up and they're like, hey, why'd you run away? We got to go. And then turn around and it's not his grandpa. It's some homeless dude.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Because he was like, is he going to let me in and give me a ride?
Yeah. Classic homeless man.
Classic.
Maybe one of the best actors in this movie.
It actually was. It's hilarious.
He kind of looked like Grandpa Seth, too.
Yeah, so he had the little creepy smile and everything. Especially had the creepy smile if you saw the daughter, which was great. Because he was like, oh, you got a daughter in there, huh? Give me a ride there, honey.
And I love what he says, too, right here, because Seth he says that Nilbog is the kingdom of the goblins.
Yeah.
Because I know later in the film when Joshua discovers Nilbog's secret, which we'll come to, he says it's the kingdom of the goblins. Why did they decide when they were going to see how ironic and coincidental it is that they decide we're going to go on this family vacation, it's going to be a great time, but they decided to go to the kingdom of the goblins?
Kingdom of the Goblins.
I guess that's one of the
You never wanted to go to the Kingdom of the Goblins?
It's a top tourist attraction, I guess.
Right. Top 10.
Obviously.
It's to die for.
And essentially they get to this house and they meet this family.
Yes.
Very, very, very bizarre scene.
Very.
Very, very, very bizarre scene. But I actually do want to chime in before we get to that. There's a scene
Chime into yourself? Are you having a conversation that I'm not aware of? He said, I said I want to chime in. Were you talking to somebody else?
Yeah, I'm pushing down the dinger. And I'm
He said, I want to chime in my own conversation.
Yeah, I'm raising my hand like we're in elementary school. What I was saying was there's that one scene where, so after they get them back into the car and they're all driving down the highway again, going to Nilbog, they pass the boys. Do you remember that scene?
Yes. Yep. No reason why they would know that they're there.
Yeah.
Why
for some reason.
By.
Because also the pacing of the movie in the sequential order, we see the boys leave right after they leave. So there's no way that these boys could get ahead of them, park their RV down by this lot,
and
then
know they're going to drive by.
And know that. Do you know how many fucking vans there were in the 80s?
Yes.
You're not just going to look at it from a really far away distance, because we do see shots of them going into this campsite or whatever. And just be able to see and notice, hey, that's my girlfriend.
Yeah, and
so
then he tries to wave, and then she gives him the most ridiculous middle finger.
Her finger was really long too.
Yeah, it was it extended, and stretched. It was so weird. I almost wonder if they put a fucking prop hand up.
It
to
looked
do it.
like it, yeah.
So stupid.
So then after that, they finally get to Nilbog, and they arrive at this house. And like you said, it was just the weirdest thing of a family's basically giving up their house.
Yeah, to let someone else live there so while they can switch and try something else.
I guess that's a thing, like we've said. I got to look into it more. But.
Yeah, one, got to look into it, but then two, the fact that how the scene plays out. It's yes, I know horror movie. I do know enough about horror movies to know how much people suspend their logic in them, and they're let's do stuff we
especially
wouldn't do.
A film about goblins,
right? So, but come on. So you agree to this, but then in the scene it plays out where this family acts just completely weird. They come out almost motionless, monotone. They barely speak, and they're like, "You're late," and then they're just like, "Here's the keys." Great, here's the keys, and they start walking away. But
he notices, the kid notices that they all have these herpes.
Yeah, herpes marks all over them as they're standing there talking motionlessly. And the father continues to try to awkwardly talk to them as they walk away.
Yeah.
Like they're getting into their own car walking away, and he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna love our town. It's really nice, really awesome, great." And there's already
They don't even
in
give
the
a
car
shit,
walking away.
yeah.
I'm like, where in any of this, as a grown adult, would you be like, "This is a good idea"?
Yeah.
That I'm gonna go let some weird ass family like that go live in my house.
That just is like almost zombified.
Zombified doesn't even actually politely say, "Hey, how's everything going? You know, this is gonna be great." Like all of this doesn't make any sense. Why this is even happening? But
They get
whatever.
into this truck, and it's hilarious because like half of them are sitting in the bed of the truck.
Yeah.
And they're somehow going to drive an hour or two to wherever the hell this is on a highway, all sitting in
the
the
back
truck,
of the truck.
Which we learn that they don't actually go to the house. We'll learn that a little bit later.
Spoilers.
I'm sorry. So they get into the house. They're all excited. They're like, wow, these people left us a great meal here. They're so excited about that. They're so happy.
Yeah, the house is ugly. It's ugly
It
as
is.
hell.
And I love how they're like, oh, it looks great.
It's so great. Look at how wonderful this is. And they spot this.
And then he uses the term real quick before you say that. He uses the term country hospitality.
yes, so much
Which I
country
love hospitality, using that word, which will be used a lot. And I actually do say the word hospitality to a
it's
lot
a
of
good word.
people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, thank you for the hospitality.
It is. Yes, I do that all the time when and that's a proper word to use in everyday conversation.
Well, you can't piss on it, though.
no,
tell you that
because
much.
we're gonna learn why you don't piss on hospitality.
Oh, 100%. So they're all mesmerized. The whole family's just blown away, mesmerized. Like, you imagine just going to a house and just, swapping your house, and they just leave you this delicious meal.
Delicious meal of just stuff that all looks like nothing but excuse me, a bunch of cakes and nasty everything's green. Everything's green for some reason. Complete, the food might be green, but the red flags are popping up again.
There is a red glass or a red jar of juice on
is
that
true.
table. So there's the red flag. by the
But
way.
right there, again, okay, I know, horror movie, suspended disbelief, whatever, but like literally, are you kidding me? I'm gonna have some weird ass family move into my house. I come into their house and they prepared this feast that's all green food.
After they barely talk to me,
Barely
and
talk to
barely
me.
care about me.
To barely say ignore me when they walk away.
Mm-hmm.
I go into their house and there's a feast of weird ass food that's all green. And I'm gonna just be, oh my god, this is the best day of my life.
Yep.
I love
Start
this more
munching.
than my kids.
Yep,
And
yep.
just go right at it. So they do though. The
Yeah.
entire family except for Joshua, because Joshua knows something up in this hoe.
Yep.
And he starts, getting diddled by Uncle Seb or whatever.
Grandpa Seth,
Grandpa
he's
Seb,
getting
yeah.
he's getting the
he's getting spiritually diddled.
I was thinking
Ghost diddle.
spider sense or spidey senses, like Spider-Man. He just getting like
don't confuse something cool with troll.
this. I'm
with troll,
sorry.
too. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Spidey, the sixth sense. Okay.
yeah,
yes.
yeah, okay, yeah. So he's getting
getting
this
ghost
like
diddled
weird
by-
sense, and then freaking Grandpa Seth this man just has horrible timing as well. This grandpa, he just is like, hey, I'm just gonna tap on a window.
Yep.
It kind of
Yeah.
creeped me out because you can't see who it is at first, and you're
Yeah.
like, wait, what? So he goes up to him. He's like, you can't let them eat the food; they'll turn into goblins. Which we'll get down to this logic. Makes no sense because some of them they eat the stuff, they turn into plants.
Right. That's exactly what I was saying. Like when you said that earlier, I figured we were gonna talk about it later in the podcast. But it's like they never explain actually what the deal is because they're like you're gonna eat it and then you turn into a goblin. But then if you eat it, but then you become food that the goblins eat. And then
they eat you?
Yeah, and then they eat you, or then you eat it and you become plants. Like it's never actually specified. Never makes any sense, except for just don't eat it.
Yeah, and one of our characters later in the movie becomes a plant. And
Yeah.
I always think, what the hell? I don't even think they actually get to what becomes of him. I mean,
nothing.
There's one part which we'll get to later about like the one woman with the chainsaw.
We'll get all to that. But
We'll
it's
get
like,
to that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like I'm just saying in my
It's
head,
never clarified.
Yeah,
any
there's
of
no
this.
clarification of like what he's gonna be after, what's gonna happen, whatever. But yeah, so essentially, how does Joshua stop his family from eating this delicious food?
I was surprised by this. I thought maybe he was gonna scream or something, but whoever came up with this idea, I actually give him props because I'm like, okay,
The drinkers out there, please have your drink ready.
yeah,
He reaches for his crotch.
his crotch. Like he literally is like, oh well, here we go, and he just literally starts going to unzip his pants, and I'm like, wow.
What is going on?
And then instantly, the next shot is they're
they're
cleaning
cleaning
stuff.
up all of it. And if you notice, I've noticed this from watching it multiple times, the food is all like yellow. Like the cookies are yellow. I don't know if it was a choice or something.
Yeah.
And they're all just dumping it out. As well, it's cutting to Michael carrying Joshua up the stairs.
Yep.
and they're walking down, and he's like, "What do these signs mean to you?" Hospitality. Puts him down.
This is honestly my favorite part of the movie.
And what does he say?
He literally says, "You don't
Points
piss
at
on hospitality, son."
Yeah, you do not piss on hospitality.
Again, they like, M. Night Shyamalan, the whole joke about him adding twists into his movie.
Yeah.
This is like, well, actually, I mean, kind of. M. Night Shyamalan made a lot of shit movies anyway, so this joke doesn't work. But imagine. This is the M. Night Shyamalan of even more shittier movies than his own shit movies that he makes, where I was, again, surprised. I thought it was going to just be like, okay, son, I'm going to take off my belt and whip you. But no, I actually get surprised with, he says, "You don't piss on hospitality," and he starts tightening his belt.
Yes.
He says, "I'm going to tighten." He's like, "What are you going to do, Daddy?" And then this man.
Yeah, that's so creepy. What are you going to do, Daddy?
What are you going to do, Daddy? God, even saying that
because listen,
that made me so creeped out by even saying that.
When he says that, it cuts to him pulling off. It looks like he's gonna pull off his
yes,
belt.
I'm thinking he's gonna take it off and he's gonna like
rape the kid.
Yeah, either that or he's gonna whip him to death with the belt
or beat him. Yeah.
Instead, it goes the opposite of like a direction I wouldn't even think someone could even come up with. He says, "I'm gonna tighten my belt because if you're gonna go on a hunger strike, then gosh darn it, you don't think you're messing with the big boys because I've gone on hunger strikes before and I'll be ready for you and I'll see you tomorrow."
Well, he pulls.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Essentially, he like pulls off he like straight. I guess
he tightens it.
He tightens.
But it looks like he's gonna take it off.
But he says his words are, "I'm tightening it
another notch."
Another notch. Yeah, he said that because he's trying to ward off hunger pains.
Yeah,
and I guess is that a way that you make yourself not hungry is to tighten your belt?
Only if we're talking like if you and I want to have a logical conversation, the only thing I can think
about
of is
Troll 2.
Troll 2. But you like having logical conversation about most of this garbage we talk about anyway. So
that's true.
I'm thinking he's talking about cutting off circulation and blood flow. So the more that you do that, the more you feel less. Because think about when you when people apply a tourniquet. You know what a tourniquet is?
Yeah.
It's to cut off blood flow and supply, so that way people don't just bleed out and stuff.
Yeah.
I think in the same thing here. What ends up happening when you are accidentally cutting off your blood flow, you go numb, right?
Yeah.
Like when your foot or your hand falls asleep. I think it's the same thing with the stomach. This is my guess. You tighten it tighter, so that way it starts cutting off flow of feeling, because unless you actually are able to feel
this is a medical podcast, by the way.
Yes.
Now this is becoming a medical podcast.
Yes, sir. I mean, I've read enough articles online to be a licensed
we have
doctor,
a scholar in the building.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm proud.
These are surgical hands right here.
Wow,
surgical hands.
Look at those. Well, this whole scene with the the hunger pains and whatever, it doesn't make sense in the long run, because it's like, aren't you a father? Shouldn't you be supplying the family with food? You don't just go to a place and you don't go to a hotel room and expect there to just be food there waiting for you. I mean, in the long run, he's like, you ruin this family. Now we're gonna have hunger pains. Go out and goddamn buy him a pizza.
It doesn't make any sense.
No,
and they don't bring any supplies either. I actually just thought of this.
Yeah,
but they don't even talk about how long they're supposed to be here. It's literally that whole scene of them exchanging houses is them walking out with their own clothes. Nothing, no bags,
nothing,
no supplies. Nothing.
I guess they assume that when they go somewhere, they're gonna have every single thing that they personally have.
Yeah.
Like you going to live in another house, and then they automatically have the Bruce Lee box set sitting here, as well as, I don't even know, your RoboCop action figure. Like, imagining that, what if that was in the exact building that you were going to go to, like an Airbnb or something like that?
I mean, are you trying to... What are you trying to say, man?
I'm basically saying that, like, you're not going to feel homey in a place that isn't your home, essentially, unless they have the Bruce Lee.
My stuff.
There's the Bruce Lee. I mean, just watch out for these two items, because they might disappear over the next coming weeks. So.
What do you mean by that?
Next time you take a walk, just make sure you lock the door.
Are you threatening me, boy?
Possibly.
Wow.
Possibly, and you know what? If I'm threatening you, you can just tighten your belt.
I will. I'll tighten my belt, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Perfect. Now, after this scene, I honestly can't even remember the direction that this whole... I remember, I think it cuts to the boys, because I do remember.
Likely.
So the guy in this shot where you were like, oh, one of the only things I remembered about the movie was oh my God, you know, like that
Yeah.
whole part. That
Well, the
guy,
only thing I knew about the movie, not remembered. I've never seen it before.
oh, well, I mean, you remembered seeing it,
Yeah.
so
I'm saying my knowledge of
of
Troll
the
2
movie.
is
Okay.
literally that scene and the fact that there's no actual trolls in it. It's part of why they make fun of it.
His name is Arnold, I guess.
Arnold, oh my God.
I don't remember them ever saying Arnold.
I don't remember either.
But he goes for a walk and he sees a girl because right before he leaves and he's talking to the guys, he's saying he's looking for some free and unattached women.
Yes, they mentioned numerous times how they're looking for this free and unattached women. Don't you? I mean, I'm looking for free. To all you free and unattached women out there listening,
Classic free.
the classic, the classic free and unattached women. Please kindly send your DMs my way.
Oh, 100%.
I'm constantly always on the lookout for my future ex unattached woman.
I love how they talk about women like they're essentially like wild creatures. They're like, we're gonna go out and we're gonna find them.
What was it? What was the next thing they said? Liberated.
Liberated. Yeah,
Yes.
they use that word as well. The liberated women. He says that near the end. One of the last
so
boys
stupid.
who succumbs to the fate of
So
Nilbog.
on the quest, if you will, for unattached women, he finds a blonde chick that's running through the forest.
Perfect, right? A woman
absolutely.
just running and screaming.
Clothes are ripped.
Yeah.
She looks vulnerable. I
She's
should
ready
go
to
check
go.
it out. She is unattached.
Like we said, she's actually just running away from the movie. She was an extra that's trying to get.
They're trying to get out. She got out of her cage, and they're trying to wrestle her back.
Mm-hmm. And they were like, "Hey, let's get Arnold to chase her and put the camera on." And movie magic was made.
So it's the same forest from the bullcrap in the beginning.
Yes,
the
I
narration and
actually
stuff.
did not notice that till now. You're right. That is the same one as the fairy tale.
Yep.
So maybe it wasn't a fairy tale.
Oh, maybe it was real.
Maybe it was foreseeing the future. Exactly. So essentially, she's like, "I'm getting chased by those things." Points to it. We see goblins. Of course, we see goblins.
Just the dumbest little, midget looking things, unthreatening,
Unthreatening.
nothing.
And Arnold tries to act like he's fucking like God in front of him, and is like, "Oh, you guys go back to where you came from." Not freaking out that he's looking at goblins. I love that. He's talking down to them like they're preschoolers, pretty much.
I do the same. If they look like that, I do the same thing. Okay.
He's so chill about it, and then later in the film, we figure out he's even more chill in very
That's even
weird
that's even more funny.
situations.
But so they show that they're not actually just lovable and lovable and caring. They go and
How so?
oh, gee, I think they stab him in the shoulder.
Yeah,
with
they
one
throw
of
a
his stupid little
spear.
their little trident, their little goblin trident.
He gets just stabbed in the shoulder, and then and then it cuts back from there. I think I don't exactly remember where it cuts back to from there, but I know it does cut back because then we do eventually get back to Arnold and his mistress, and they're running to this like weird church thing. Like I said,
Yeah, it looks like like an old school.
it's
church.
odd, and like I said, my favorite shot in the movie is it's like a pan up from with the church and them standing in front of it, because the sky, if you look behind it, part of it's like blue and another part over the church is like kind of cloudy and dark, and it kind of just has, and the music during this kind of makes it creepy, but then they go inside and you realize it's not creepy at all. This set inside this church thing, which is basically like I guess like the mothership, or like I don't know what is the term that would be.
The headquarters.
Headquarters,
the
yeah,
lair.
Yeah, of this crazy druid witch called Credence Leonore Gilgood.
The poor woman, her IMDb page profile is a picture of her in the makeup. That's what she gets to be known by.
Yeah, and I've heard before that if your cast in your movie on IMDb, if majority of them, when you look them up, all have pictures from that one movie that you're looking up, that those are nobody actors. Because if you look at, like, you're on IMDb right now, right?
Yeah.
Look at all, like, almost every single one of the main characters, their pictures on here are from Troll 2.
Yeah,
That's how you know that they didn't have a successful career.
Well, looking real quick about this lady's filmography, it's such a weird little career. Like, she just randomly on a TV miniseries, The Stand, and then was on fucking Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, she was in the makeup department.
She was in the makeup department, additional makeup artist. Why?
In Utah, because they did shoot that movie in Utah, and this movie is filmed in
okay.
Utah as well. So maybe
that's probably
the thing behind it. She
Still,
was in an Elton John documentary, I guess.
Weird-ass things.
Talent coordinator. she's fun because, like I said, we have
theater. Yeah.
we have some actors in this movie that are very over exaggerated, and this is like a theater actor. It's very overblown and
Way
feels
over
like
the top, chewing the scenery.
And even the set inside of this church looks like it's on a stage.
Yeah, it looks like a high school stage or it's college stage production.
Yeah. So they meet this. This is the Goblin Queen. I love the term on here. Druid witch Credence Leonore Gilgood, who uses the Stonehenge magic stone. That is actually like one of my favorite terminology. Yeah. She calls it the Stonehenge magic stone. Okay, we already know it's a stone because it's Stonehenge.
Yes.
And then magic, we already know it's magic, obviously.
Right. But they have to explain it to us.
Obviously. So this is kind of like the life force of the goblins.
Right.
Which makes no sense. Why? First of all, why did they put it inside of a church?
Doesn't make any sense. Because even, like, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but, like, even the so-called pastor preacher character is conducting his sermons in, like, a basement. Mm-hmm. And there's a church. Yeah. Like, you kind of get it mixed up. Like, the cult should be in the church.
Yeah.
The cult should be in the church, and then, like, the lair or whatever should be like in somewhere else. I don't know.
Well, it should be it should be in like a cave or like some kind of hidden area.
Anything. No, literally they could have flipped it. Literally
the sermon could have been in that like farmhouse thing that they were in.
They could have been literally in the church, and then the lair could have been in the farmhouse or whatever they were in there.
Mm-hmm. So Credence is just this batshit wild animated Goblin Queen character.
Overacting.
She's fun. I think she's fun. She's really overacting, but in this kind of movie, what else are you gonna do? Seriously,
you really have nothing else to do. Except for just completely annihilate yourself.
Mm-hmm. You really have to let go. Yeah,
Balls out.
She was probably drunk as shit.
I would hope so because I don't know how to get through that production sober myself.
So Credence gives Arnold and the mistress lady, which I thought at first, because in the beginning of the film that we saw, the first woman that we saw in the dream sequence turned out to be a goblin. Yeah. I thought this woman was going to be a goblin.
Oh, same thing.
No, she turns out to be, because she's sweating green slime when Arnold meets her. So you would think, well, put two and two together, she's going to be a goblin. No, Credence makes her drink this green potion.
Yeah, because they're looking for a hospital, and she's like, oh, there's no hospital around here.
She's saying, we heal ourselves with this magic rock, essentially. Yes. Nothing's explained. We still
nothing.
Nothing. We'll talk more about it later. How it really what she says isn't true at all. But so Credence makes them drink this like green potion. This I guess it's like, I don't even know. Like, how would that even be refreshing? Like, if you're like really dying for a drink and then.
Well, think to yourself. The practical effects are they got two giant mugs and whatever they put in there, dry ice or. I would think dry ice most likely because there's not
a lot of dry ice.
Probably most likely just dry ice. But imagine if you were at a party or you were out at the bar or whatever, and some person you didn't see make this drink just came over with a couple of mugs that were foaming to the point where it was just like sizzling out of the. Would you drink that?
It's almost, to me, it's almost. I don't know if the word's comedic. It's almost like. You've seen this before in movies. They love to use even like spooky settings and stuff because there's that cauldron that she has in the back, which she also talks about how she uses that to heal as well. But like, the fog and everything like that.
Yeah, everything. Textbook stupidity.
Everything. But who would literally drink this and think, hey, it's going to help me? Like,
you'd think like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it's classic. But they drink it. The girl starts drinking it. Ha ha ha. See Theodore Rex.
Actually, you know what? I got a better idea. Shot game. Every time that AC says classic, you take a shot, and by the time you're done, you're going to have alcohol poisoning.
Oh, in that last one, for sure, but I'm going to definitely stray away from that.
So she gives up the potion, like we said. That's why I kind of get why you think it's a comedy, but I think it's too hard to get. I don't think so.
Parts of it are. Like, the ending we'll talk about is almost a comedy.
It's garbage. But straight up garbage. But she gives him the potion. I'm bringing it up because it's like almost ridiculous, the level of she's handing over. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie scenes. Have you ever seen the movie White Chicks?
Yeah, yeah.
It really like very low tier humor when I got older. But when I thought about it as a kid, I thought it was hilarious. But there is the one scene.
I rewatched that. That's not a. I don't
It's
find that
not
a funny movie.
No,
at
it's
all.
not. When I got older, but there was one scene I remember that was funny because Terry Crews is almost hilarious and everything.
He's great in that
is
movie.
when he tries to put drugs in the one girl's drink.
Yeah,
but when he hands over the drink, there's literally just pills in it, and you can see it sizzling.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Yeah, okay, I'm gonna drink that. I don't think so." And they switch it, and he accidentally, he drinks it.
Yeah.
But my point was, is like you can see how obviously she shouldn't drink this, or he, in the drag makeup shouldn't drink this. It's like the same thing.
And if you walk into a church with a fucking Stonehenge
cauldron, light up Stonehenge, is like a fire, shooting out of its ass.
I'm not gonna drink anything in there.
And she's giving you a smoldering mug of something to drink, and they're just like, "Oh, okay." And then
I wouldn't even drink the tap water in there. I wouldn't even touch that shit.
So they start drinking it, and sure enough, then they have a battle to see who can overact the most, because now the mistress starts to go.
Yeah, she was screaming, dude, and it sounds like she's moaning throughout this whole part, and she's like slow. The best thing about this whole part is that she's like slowly like walking while she's like moaning.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, well, it's just
like that's overacting when you were a kid and you were playing with your friends and stuff, and you got shot and you died. Like you just slowly walk to your death. She's literally for some reason walking upstairs.
Like she's literally downstairs. She takes like a solid minute of wandering around on the floor, grabbing things, and then she just starts to walk up the stairs while suffering.
I love the one shot. They hold the camera there while you could see her walk on the edge of the screen up the stairs, and there's just nothing, and then you just see her head through like the slit in the stairs. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
And then she slowly starts, quote, disintegrating into green slime,
dissolving. Yeah,
where it's a very obvious special effect of like them keeping probably I would say a stage where she is underneath it, and they've just stuck her head out.
Yeah, they cut a hole into it and put her body in and kept her head up.
Looks so lame. And in this, it's like what's her name? The Goblin Queen is explaining what's happening.
Credence.
As we're leading up to probably the most famous of the entire movie.
Yes, the climax essentially.
Of where she's explaining that she's becoming, I guess, one with Earth or whatever, some bullshit.
One with the plant world or something.
One with the plant world, and she calls out her goblin minions to come out.
One with the vegetable kingdom, I think it was. Some really stupid.
Oh my god!
I'm sorry, I had to figure that one.
Yeah, they start coming out and they start, quote, eating her, I guess, because now she's just this.
Well, now they're eating her.
Right, but then they're gonna eat me.
Then they're gonna eat him. Yeah.
And then. Oh my god!
Doesn't it make sense now though? After you watched it, you understand.
Well, anytime I watched the clip, it would always start with them eating
or drinking the
whatever they were doing. There was
eating the
eating the green slime or whatever. So it wasn't just him saying they're eating her and they're gonna eat. It would start with the goblins doing
eating
whatever.
Her. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But then they close up into his mouth and on to the next, whatever.
Yeah,
who cares?
I guess, and he just starts. Arnold's like freaking out while this is happening, and he's like, "I can't move. There must be some kind of
his acting is amazing because he's both supposed to be emoting like stuff like being scared and freaking out, but he's so calm. So he's literally just standing there, and just going, "I can't move. There must be a logical reason for this. What's going on? Oh my god."
Oh god, yeah. He's just like essentially he's like, I'm describing the plot while I'm standing here, sounding like William Shatner.
Like every other person in this movie, though. I mean, literally everybody. Little brother, big sis. They keep always
that one
explaining.
Scene. Yeah, big sis. Well, there's a dialogue in the beginning that I told you I really liked was the mom. She was like, and yes, your father and your sister and me, his daughter. Like, just kind of like basically describing everything, saying, yes, Grandpa Seth did give birth to you, Mom. That makes him my fucking grandpa, if he doesn't notice. God, that's so
bad. Okay, so they zoom in on his mouth, on the next. No one cares.
Yeah, so essentially, what's his name? Drew, one of the friends, decides, there's no drinks in here. I need to go get a drink. So he starts walking into town.
Oh wait, don't forget. As he's talking to him about how there's nothing in the fridge.
I forgot.
They pan over to show that the boys are hanging out naked in the bed together.
Yeah, two of them.
Two
like
of them.
sleeping.
Not like kind of in a bed where they're like separated and one on one side.
No.
They full on spooning. They full on half naked, or maybe even full naked. The sheets are up, naked, just hanging out with the boys.
The boys, dude, which is weird because I thought there was like people out there drinking. I thought there was like a weird kind of like child, like kind of like it was kind of gross to me. It's like, are you implying that these guys just like bang each other, like these young kids?
Well,
just...
this is never explained because the
But
point.
it's always a homosexual kind of.
There's a weird ass homosexual like tone to it because like why is the chick, what's her name, getting so pissed that the guy hangs out with his boys?
Yeah.
Like, not in the normal way of like you spend too much time with your friends.
Yeah.
It's like just this really weird ass like it's your boys or me, and then they're like being really sexually, turned on by each other, and they're hanging out and they're doing weird stuff. So it's like just a complete mess. So I don't know what.
There's a weird kind of.
What that might be again is what we've talked about. If this is a foreign director, he might be in his mind thinking that, oh, this is what this must be what young American boys do. This must be why women get pissed off by their boyfriends when they hang out with their friends too much because they're actually having secret gay sex in their RV. That must be why she's pissed.
Please don't make Troll 2 seem like a coming of age film because this is not a coming of age film.
We've had this discussion about these directors because that is why there's these problems. Because imagine if you and I went over to Italy to make an Italian film, we wouldn't really know how Italian how Italians should really sound. Italians should really sound. Mm-hmm. We'd have to get someone to actually work with us, and it's like it's the same thing. It's like I'm not surprised these problems arise because you think you know a culture, and you go and tell their culture themselves
exactly what you think their culture is about.
What there is, and most of the time you learn culture through what. Pop culture and movies and entertainment, and so you think, oh, because I saw this one movie where these boys are, doing this or that, it must be how American boys are. It's like. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with these kids. Okay, but like that boy's like, need drinks, need food. He's gonna go into town.
Well, also they were watching at one point. They were watching this.
The monkey thing.
Film, where it's like a monkey getting a freaking glowing egg shoved up his ass
and then flies in the air.
There's a YouTube video. Hey guys, look it up because it's really cool. We'll watch it eventually. It's an explanation behind it. This one YouTuber I watch, he went in and kind of had to figure out what it was about, and they figured out still kind of a mystery. They figured out the movie and they understand. That movie was actually a comedy and it was supposed to be goofy and funny. Okay. So it makes sense. But so Drew wanders into town and he runs into one of my favorite characters in this film, Sheriff Gene Freak. This dude is
Gene Freak.
God, this dude fucking. He's got those like big, like
librarian glasses.
Librarian glasses, like, perfect. Or I was gonna say janitor glasses or something like that. We had a janitor in high school. He had giant ones, and like they look like the bottom of like a glass bottle.
Yeah, that's what they call them. My dad used to have to wear a pair of those.
Yeah, those are like
the thickest ones possible.
Classic.
They're the classic.
Drink up. Drink up. So he runs into Sheriff Gene Freak in the car. Gene Freak's being fucking Gene Freak.
He's being the freakiest.
Yeah, he's kind of being weird, and he's not really even listening to him. He's just like, here, eat this, More kind of weird child endangerment.
Yeah, asking weird questions of where you at, where you going, getting really creepy. Like, he's just like, you running for, no, you training?
He was like, you training? I was like, training for what? Like, what?
And then when there's, he's telling him some stuff, like you said, he just pops out, again, the common sense thing, I know horror movies suspend disbelief, but in the middle of him in the car, he's like, here, you look hungry, eat this, and he gives him a sandwich that's literally a sandwich of 2 pieces of bread and some green pudding or the
it's not a sandwich.
It's not a sandwich.
I want to break it to you.
Clearly green, and the kid's just like, okay, thank you.
Tastes
like,
good.
Just starts eating. Like if you got into a car again, if you got into a car, I don't know if it's a cop or not. Most likely, people don't like cops. So if you got into a cop car and some cop like, here, eat this, and he just gave you a green sandwich. I don't think most of us would eat that.
And I love how later in the film he's like, I'm not feeling that good. I don't know why. Kids are just dumb. Obviously.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
So they eventually get into town, and before he gets dropped off, he asks, Gene Freak, where are all the free and unattached liberated women? And Gene Frey gives one of the best performances ever. He laughs his ass off.
Yeah.
He's pulling away. He's laughing.
Laughing as the door like immediately shuts. It's so weird. It's like
it's
such a
so
weird.
The audio
transition.
too is kind of
Yeah,
weird.
it's off, so it's just him laughing in the car. You can't even hear him, and that was it. And then you have just the next shot of all these weird rejects from a country music video.
Yeah.
Standing there, just watching him, like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, just kind of just like staring at him as he walks in. You know, like something's off, and they're giving you that kind of feeling. And so he gets inside, and it's a really weird store. It's supposed to be like a corner store, like whatever.
Country store.
But there's literally like one counter.
There's nothing in there
there's
except for some jars of some stuff.
Some little weird stuff. There was pieces of corn. You said there was just random.
First he sees the milk. There's just random
so there's just milk
sitting on the shelf,
yep.
not refrigerated, not in a refrigerator. And then as the weird ass guy comes out, which AC can tell you more about the background of this guy, but
we will after. Yeah.
He comes out and has a weird talk with them in cryptic. And cryptic, weird, weird ass talk about like what's going on here. Over in the corner, there was just a basket of apples and then a basket of corn, just corn on the cob.
Well, they're vegetarians, and he does explain it to him. They're vegetarians, and then because he was asking, "You have milk?" and he goes, "No," and then he goes, "Eggs," and he goes, "Ugh." That's one of my favorite lines.
He said something else because they have milk. He said there was eggs or there's something else. Do you have
high
meat?
in vitamin content?
What did he say? He said something else. He's like, "Do you have meat or no?"
Something like
juice?
that.
Something, but yeah, he's
well,
like,
it was like milk, eggs, all that.
No,
stuff.
remember they're giving him milk,
Oh,
so it wasn't milk, but it was something before the eggs.
Yeah, but he gives them special Nilbog milk.
He was like, "Yeah, eggs."
Yeah, that was a great one. But this guy, don't have his name on me.
Here, let's see if I can find him.
So this guy Don Packard, pretty much he was high throughout the entire filming of this movie. Pretty much. But he wasn't just like stoned. He literally had a mental problem, I guess. And he was apparently in and out of mental asylums during this. And just kind of like, I guess he was so high, he was like going through like a mini psychosis throughout this movie. And you can see it within this man's eyes. It's really sad, but you could really see it in his eyes that there's something wrong with this man. And essentially gives him the milk. He starts drinking the milk, and then he just doesn't feel good. Go figure, whatever. So he leaves, and we cut to Michael and Joshua in the house. They can't find anything. There's only Nilbog milk, which she pours out. Which you were saying, she pours out this milk, and it looks totally fine. And
completely clear. Like from when she opens it up, and you see the shot of it going out of the thing, completely clear. And then they do a close up of it into the the sink.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's all chunky and like weird.
So then they go into town, and so it's kind of an odd scene. They look into the store, and apparently, so the drugstore owner, Don Packard or whatever, I don't even know what kind of word we should just call him Don Packard. It's kind of
Call him druggie.
Let's call him druggie.
Yeah,
okay.
Drugster.
The druggie essentially is like, hey, I'm going to the sermon, so I'm not going to be here. So what's his name? Michael, the dad, just kind of sits there and reads a vegetable cookbook.
Yeah, he says, we got to be patient, son.
And just starts reading a vegetable cookbook, I guess, instead of going to another store and trying to find more food, or going to a different town. And
anywhere, because I mean, literally, they're acting like the only place to go is right here.
Is Nilbog,
This literal like little strip of us one store. Like, don't go anywhere else. Don't check anywhere else.
So this is kind of a cool reveal. It's stupid, but I think it was kind of cool. Joshua walks up to the car. He walks up to the car that they were in and is sitting there looking at the mirror, trying to talk to Grandpa Seth, because that's how he contacts his Grandpa Seth. We learn he looks into mirrors, which at the beginning there's no mirror for some reason. So I guess it's kind of like whenever they want to put a mirror in the movie, they do it. And he looks at, and you see the sign of the town, which is hilariously just like placed on a sidewalk for some reason.
Yeah, because it doesn't. I'm wondering it's because, I wouldn't be surprised if they had to go scouring the locations for that one street that was named that.
Nilbog.
And,
Well, it literally just says Nilbog.
Yeah,
a lot of places say welcome to the town of
anything. No, it's the street, actually.
Whatever it
but
is.
the thing is because they found a street that was named that. They're like, oh, okay, shit, we got to use
go
this.
do it.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you, for those people at home, I said in the beginning, had it written down.
Yes.
Nilbog, spelled backwards, is goblin.
Goblin.
Did you notice this throughout the whole movie? I didn't want to say anything, but I was like, because I kept saying to you, Nilbog, because it's just a goofy name. I didn't know if you thought about it.
No, I think I was just so taken back by the utter just stupidity of everything in this movie that I wasn't even paying attention to that.
Because I kept looking over like, is he gonna get it? Is he?
No, I did actually. I was too busy trying to sort through everything else. I noticed. So no, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, just so you know, Nilbog is a goblin spelled backwards.
That's good. I can't wait to use that.
They are
English
genius.
literal.
Yeah, dude. They, I would definitely say in their public schools in Nilbog, English is, in comprehension, critical thinking skills, very, very low on the charts. They don't really focus on that.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a very good grasp of the English language most of the time anyways. Clearly, given plenty of examples on this podcast how poorly I grasp. See, there it is. I grasp.
There we go.
Grasp.
There we go. Well, I think, they could have called the town not the Kingdom of the Goblins. That would have been...
Yeah, or not Goblin Town.
Because if you see it, you're like, that's definitely not Goblin Town.
No, especially if they had like the tagline, because you said things say, welcome to blah, 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 and then they have a tagline. It should say, welcome to not Goblin Town. There's no goblins here.
Why are you here?
You would have been like, oh, there's no goblins here.
Yeah, exactly. So he rides off on his cool skateboard, classic late 80s kind of shit, is his neon skateboard, and he notices the sermon going on in this weird little farmhouse that we get to. Like we said earlier, this farmhouse and the church should have swapped because it's kind of like a desolate, quiet, little weird location. And one thing I noticed about this, I don't know if you noticed it, but so the sermon, he goes in and he comes to the sermon. He sees all the townspeople, which are all secretly goblins. They're all townspeople just kind of, what did you call this guy? A discount John Travolta?
Yeah, he looks like a discount John Travolta.
He's like this weird preacher, which they didn't really give a name to him, but he's kind of like the preacher. King of the goblins, I guess.
I wouldn't say that.
Or like a preacher of the goblins.
No, he's just
priest.
he's just. I think that was one because you're like, oh, it's a cult, man. I think that's what they wanted to. They wanted to get the. Oh my god.
You all right?
Oh yeah, my leg's broken. I think they wanted to get that cult angle into it. They didn't want to just be like, oh, well, there's this Queen Goblin over here. We got to also make it into kind of like a town cult. Yeah. So that's why they threw him in there. But no, they didn't give him a name. I don't even know what his name was. We'll just call him the Goblin Preacher. But he's
John
giving
Travolta.
Yep,
pretty much.
Discount John Travolta.
What when he go one thing I noticed, like I was saying a little bit earlier, was that later after. Well, let's just actually get into this a little bit more.
Yes, please. Let's really examine this closer.
So Joshua discovers
this is important
that they're all sitting around, and like I showed you at the one part. The one dude, Don Packard, is having literally like a psychotic mental breakdown. He's like shaking his arms, shaking his legs, kind of like just.
Which was hilarious because you pointed out and you were right on. I think we were talking about as it was playing. I'm like, why do they work with this guy? But then I realized I'm like, you know what? That it probably didn't care because it works because he's supposed to be some kooky cult.
He's supposed to be
kooky cult member, and if you ever seen like the stereotypical like people making fun of evangelicals or preachers or whatever, they usually got like a sermon where everybody's like getting filled with the Spirit and they're freaking out or whatever. So they're probably like, it's fine, whatever.
It works.
It works because they're having some weird religious service. So he's over there, feeling the power of God.
So they just used him, I guess, used his mental disabilities for this, but. So, they catch him because Joshua's skateboard falls down there. I don't know why he carried his skateboard all the way. Because he's basically sitting above the ceiling looking down at all of them, like talking in this weird like farmhouse or whatever.
Yeah.
Skateboard falls. They know it's him. John Travolta grabs his head, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But then there's a shot where they're trying to feed him this like creamy ice cream, which isn't green.
No.
kind of,
for no
I thought it was
reason.
supposed to be green. I thought everything was supposed to be green. So
this weird ice cream that was delivered to him in layers. Like, it wasn't just like a spoon on one thing. They had like three different layers.
Yeah, they had like milk, then they had the cream, and they had the ice, all this like.
And then they like sprinkled some stuff on it. It was really weird.
It was so odd. So of course, Michael is just walking. I love how he just walks past it. The great thing about it, like this shot, is from the inside, you can look out and you could see Michael walking across the street and then look in. But then they cut to Michael's perspective of him running in. You can literally, that door is like dark as hell and you can't see anything.
Remember when we were doing extra work? I forgot, what is that? Oh my God, that position that's called, where they are the assistants that, I think it's not PA.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you they had a PA on set who literally had to point him in the direction. So like that scene where they see him from across the street, they're probably like, okay, now go. Like they pushed him and he's just like,
stop right here.
Stop right there and look. And he was like, oh, because that like it was a great like awkward transition of why he was asleep and all of a sudden he just walks over and he just finds
so random and he runs in and he sees everybody trying to feed his son this crap. And then pretty much they escape and they're like, whatever. And then they get back to their house and they're all there for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? You were trying to force feed my son this like
weird-ass
ice cream that we don't know what the hell is in it. I mean, the audience knows.
They're throwing a party.
They're throwing a weird birthday party and they're like, you know what? I'm sorry. We didn't mean to.
Yeah, everything's fine. It's misunderstanding. We love you people. And they're doing this weird country bumpkin, fiddle on the roof. They're playing and, they're dancing with their sisters and everything and loving their cousins. And as this is going on, I think in between that, before that, that's when his boy?
Drew?
Yeah.
Because Drew, after he went to get his milk, they were like, go through the forest and you can find the church.
He walks out and they're like, yeah, you got a friend named Arnold or whatever? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, he said, meet you by that church.
Yeah.
And he's like that all makes sense. Okay. So, he wanders through the forest. He's not feeling well. He finally stumbles into the
old church, the Stonehenge church.
It's been revealed that Arnold is now a half person, half plant.
Yes, because Credence during this time was giving a cake to the family, if you remember.
Yes.
She walked into the house, just, no big deal. Yeah. Just walks into the house.
About that, too.
And, there's so much in this movie.
So much garbage.
And basically he's like, hey, I got this cake here. You guys can have it. Oh, you look so scrumptious to the daughter. Drink out there if you want to drink.
Like literally, like
calls the daughter,
like looks at the mother and calls. I mean, it's never specified how old this girl is, but most, obviously back at this time period, kids got to be your teens, at least. Yeah. Obviously we got 25-year-olds living with their parents now. That's a common thing. It's a thing.
But
80s, 90s was like teenager for the most part. So did you take a picture of me?
Yeah, I'm just kind of getting some
fucking bastard
for the podcast.
You idiot.
But keep going.
Okay, this is all right. Let me just take a picture of you then.
All right, go ahead.
No, I'm messing with it. Okay, so like these kind of movies, that time period, there's never specified how old this girl is, but the point is she's probably a teenager. She's obviously younger, and this weird ass witch comes into just literally appears out of the house.
That. She just comes out of nowhere.
There's no knock on the door. There's no oh hey, come on in. She literally just scares the hell out of the mom, and then she's like, "Ooh, your daughter looks so scrumptious," and I'm like, "Yo, that's a little rapey there, all right?
Yeah,
calm down
really
there,
weird.
lady. Yeah. Calm down." She gives him the cake. As that's happening, our boy Drew shows up, finds out that Arnold's now a tree thing.
Yeah, he's literally planted into this pot. It's kind of cool.
What did you say?
Planted into the pot. That's why they call it planted.
It's a pun.
No, that's literally why they call things that are planted, because they're plants. Wow. Anyways, yeah, I think this practical effects is kind of cool.
Some of it.
The legs and stuff are kind of cool.
What I thought was cool was the mask.
Yeah, that mask thing. Yeah.
And so then he urges him in his whatever, green psychosis there, to release his mouth from the bark mask.
Yep.
And he does. And he delivers some of the best line delivery in the entire movie, because he is so calm,
so relaxed
about being turned into a half tree plant monster being trapped for eternity in vines. He's just like, yeah, hey man, can you just let me out of this?
Yeah, you know what?
He's just could you, like, as soon as you can, just have a
That's
chance.
cool.
Like if you don't mind, you could just get me out of this.
If you can't, forget it. It's
I'm
cool.
like, you seem so calm for a man who is literally losing his life to becoming a plant, and he's just like, hey, do you mind if you just get rid of this for me? Can you just help me out of this, please?
So then Credence walks in, perfect timing, throws Drew up on her bed for some reason.
Yeah, because I think
why not?
I think she actually might be a sexual pervert, like
something.
Because you think about
later in the movie, we'll talk about
that. So as I think about it, maybe she's actually more of a predator than we think.
Yeah,
but yeah,
take a drink as well.
So she throws him up on the bed and then forces him to
drink this concoction, but at the same time cuts to her with a chainsaw.
Yes,
and says this'll just tickle. And then chainsaws Arnold to pieces, which we don't know.
Well, we don't even know what happens, actually, because it's just, again, weird-ass thing where, he's trying to escape. Mm-hmm. She's like, you're trying to escape? Well, we'll take care of that. And she has a chainsaw. He's like, no. And all of a sudden, as she's, I guess, chainsawing him, he's just like, oh.
Yeah,
just
like getting off on it, I guess.
Like, okay, all right, this is just... It's fucking weird.
Yeah, and then Drew's on the bed. Yeah, and then it cuts. So obviously Drew dies. Whatever. So at the house, obviously they're throwing this party and everything like that. They just want to apologize. I guess.
And they keep talking about this feast. They're so like the family, the idiot family here.
Yep, and
talking about a feast, and you look at the table. It's literally a table of just cakes.
Yeah,
of just cakes and pastries.
Most unhealthy time.
Unhealthy, like not a single thing of food.
We said country hospitality,
That's true.
A lot of people in the South do not eat healthy.
And
I'll
do
tell you
not
that.
piss on
hospitality. Perfect. Then our boy Joshua contacts Grandpa Seth through a mirror. The same mirror that earlier in the film we did not talk about. The daughter Holly just starts dancing for some reason.
Oh yeah, she does some weird ass dance routine in her, and she's like talking to herself about how it's like it's me or the boys, Elliot or whatever his name.
Yep, trying to practice about how she's gonna say it to him, and
which we forgot to mention one of my favorite parts of the movie where she. In all of this, goes to go meet with Elliot at his RV. He comes out. She literally says...
That's a little bit later.
No, because remember, he's at the party.
Oh. No, he's not at the party.
Actually. No, he is. Yeah, he is. Because when they come...
Oh, yeah,
when the father comes back to the party, he's with them then.
Right.
Yeah, because remember, he comes to get her first.
Folks, we don't have no clue what the hell's going on in this movie.
But neither do the people who made this movie. There's the one part where she goes to find the boyfriend.
While the dad and the son are out doing their thing.
Yep. So when she goes to go find him, he comes out of the RV. She literally just says, is it me or the boys? And he's like, I don't know. She punches the man in the face. She punches him. Like, are you kidding me with this?
Yep.
Are you kidding me with it? He punches him. I'm like...
doesn't even explain anything.
No explanation, nothing. Doesn't, and punches him, and then is on the next because eventually, the father and son see them down there, and he comes down there for another awkward talk, and then they bring the guy along. Then they go there, and then they're at the house, and they're having the party, and they're just being fed nothing but cake, nasty.
While
cake.
they're there, Brent is also back at the RV. The last
remaining boy, the boy,
there. And we'll get to him. We'll get to him. So in the house, he contacts his Grandpa Seth using that mirror.
Ghost diddling.
Pretty much, talking about it, and it's such goofy dialogue where like I said, it's almost comedic because he's like, Joshua, the little boy, is like, Grandpa, why did you come into my sister's room and talk to her? And he was like, I'm still trying to figure out the layout of this house. Like, just dumb humor that does not need to be in this movie at all. And basically, oh God, I can't even explain this part. Grandpa Seth is pretty much like, I'll help you kill this preacher or whatever.
Yeah, so I'll help you kill all the goblins.
Yeah.
He brings out a Molotov cocktail.
So they're about to be fed cake, the family members, and while they're doing that, Josh and Grandpa go outside. He pulls out a
Molotov cocktail.
And he's essentially saying burn down the house.
Yes, he's saying burn them all, like except the family, but kill all the goblins
just
by burning the house down.
Not the best idea, Grandpa Seth, I'll tell you that much. But so he's about to do it, and the preacher's right there, and the preacher fucking makes Grandpa have a heart attack, I guess, or something.
I don't even know. He's talking like he grabs the bottle, stops him, and he gets glowing. He gets yellow eyes like out of the Thriller music video.
Yeah, that's great.
And then starts like giving him a heart attack, but then like psych, he can't give him a heart attack, and then eventually the bottle does.
Yeah, he's
explode.
like, go back to hell.
Go back to hell. I mean, you're supposed to be the evil people, but I don't know. It's
well,
like,
that's what Joshua says at one point. He's like, wait, you were really in hell, Grandpa? And he was like, no, or something. He was like, no, that's where he came from, or something.
No sense. But anyways,
Why
the
are we
thing blows
bringing
up in
hell
his hand, and now the preacher's on fire.
Yes, this is great.
Yes.
What do they call that? Fire retardant gel. This
and
is great.
suit, because as you said, all of a
He's
sudden
got
you see that he's
white
got gloves on.
He looks like a fucking magician for some reason.
Yeah.
know?
Back is turned, so that means this is obviously a stunt double. And you got the gel on. He gets fried. Everyone comes out, and they're all horrified. And all of a sudden, they put out the fire, and then it's just the goblin body,
Yeah.
just lying on the ground.
And they're like, "Wait, what is that?" And then Sheriff Gene Freak's like, "He was one of us, and you killed him."
Yeah. So now the family finds out that it's true. They all goblins.
So they run back into the house like a Scooby-Doo gag for some reason.
Oh my god, it's so stupid.
I guess that's a way of doing it. And back at the Stonehenge. So she's got a chopped arm essentially because she tried to pop out of the mirror and get
the
kid right before this happened. So she tries to jump out of the while Josh is trying to contact Grandpa Seth again. Tries to jump out of the mirror. Credence becomes a goblin. They chop off. Grandpa Seth comes out of nowhere with an axe for some reason. Don't know how he got this axe, but
well, I remember it's ghost axe. So,
but if he can get a ghost axe, why isn't he able to kill her completely?
Don't ask questions.
So we cut to Joshua chilling at the Stonehenge, no, he's not there exactly
not yet.
She cut his hand off, and Joshua's still back at home. Yep. So she gets back to the church, and she's like, got I love the fake prosthetic arm. She puts her arm into the Stonehenge and then brings it out, and then she has her arm again.
Yes.
But then there's a shot like we were talking about where she's like holding her hands up, and so she just healed her hand. Her hand, she only chopped off one hand, if I remember. I don't think it was both.
No, it's just one.
And then holds up her other hand, and that's the fake one.
It's missing. And then eventually she calls upon the powers of the rock to, I guess, I don't remember how
she gets like more and more beautiful as well.
For some reason, I don't know.
She's basically saying to the rock like, "Hey, make me look better, whatever." And then goes out and finds Brent, who is chilling in his RV.
And he's watching again some probably dumb Italian movie or something.
Yep.
And then she shows up on the TV. She's all sexy. Classic. She was all sexy, and
because this happens in Ghost House as well.
It does, but this one has what? Corn on the cob.
Corn, yes, there is.
She comes a knocking with that
corn
on the cocking.
She's attractive.
No, she is.
Without this,
she is, and I'm not ashamed to admit that this has been a fantasy of mine. A woman coming to my trailer with a big piece of corn on the cob,
feeding
me. Yep. She comes in this weird ass sexual tension between the two of them, where he invites her in, and
you could tell it's a script too, because when they come in, he's sitting down and she has the corn or whatever and has it like in her pocket. And and then he goes, I really like popcorn. Like it doesn't fit anywhere because at that moment that is just corn.
No, it's literally just a corn on the cob, and she's like, "Oh, luckily we have this," and he's like, "Oh, great, I love popcorn." It's like it's corn on the cob.
Yeah,
it's not.
Popcorn, it's not actually popcorn.
Idiot.
And that's what I'm saying. He read ahead in the script a little bit.
Then as she's trying to be all sexy, she goes and puts it between their mouths.
And she's like, "We can heat it up."
And they start eating the corn on the cob, and then all of a sudden, whoever the poor bastards were who had to have this job were throwing bags of popcorn onto them.
It wasn't like it was coming. It was literally like directly coming from behind the camera.
And they're just getting showered in popcorn. I'm like, man, can I achieve this power of making out with a woman in popcorn?
And then he drowns in it, I guess. There's just a bunch of it.
Fine.
And he just
nothing happened.
But then we cut back to him and he's laying in the popcorn.
Yeah, but he was talking. He was fine though.
Yeah, after that. I'm saying like we don't see him again because it's supposed to be that he got killed by the popcorn, but
I guess I don't know what the hell's going on. But
who the hell knows?
She runs off she gets out of the van, and for some reason now she's back to being gnarly and nasty.
Yep. And she's like freaking out and whatever back at the whatever.
Yeah, because at the house they tried to do a seance for the
For
ghost
Grandpa
diddler,
Seth, yeah.
ghost diddler to come back and to diddle his grandson again.
Yeah.
With his ghost diddling.
Ugh.
And
drink, please drink if you're out there. Go ahead.
And so they were having this episode. It didn't work. No, it was working, I guess. I don't remember. The grandfather comes back,
but
freaks him out.
They accidentally bring. I think they bring that girl because remember he's looking at the mirror and then Credence is in the mirror, because basically Michael disappears at that seance table as well.
Joshua.
Joshua, the kid, disappears at the seance while they're trying to bring back Grandpa Seth.
Right.
So then he goes to the church. He wakes up at that church lair, whatever the hell it is. And then during this part, he meets Grandpa Seth there. You remember this part,
yes.
Right? And then she comes back, and basically it's the end of the movie, I guess, right here, because during that whole seance, they start to get chased by goblins.
Yeah,
so the family's getting chased by goblins.
And they're freaking out, which, of course, the least threatening goblins of all time. Mm-hmm. They're thinking it's all the end, and then she starts screeching, and all of a sudden the goblins are like, "Our queen calls us," and then they just snap, they're gone.
Speaking English for some reason.
Why? I don't, because they're just like, we give up. So then the father's like, "Oh no, Joshua's all by himself," and they just know where he is. Mm-hmm. So they run to this lair church thing where Joshua's been wandering around, and he gets discovered by what's her name, and he's over there.
Credence is there, and
he gets grabbed by the goblins. They're getting ready to fillet him.
And because Grandpa Seth gave him a backpack when he met him there.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, use this the last second if you need to. And what's in it? I didn't remember the scene at all. It's a double-decker bologna sandwich.
Yes. Okay, that's what, yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
He's getting cornered. Yeah, he brings out the bologna sandwich, and I'm like, no.
It's a huge sandwich. And it's like, yeah, and because he's eating meat, which she explains there's toxins and all of the sins of the meat and everything like that, basically making his body poisonous so that the goblins will not touch him. And then they all disappear. If you remember, there's a shot of literally them all standing in the church, and then they all just like disappear pretty much.
Yeah, for a moment. Then remember, no, the family shows up. No, remember the family shows up, and then they all start touching the stone together. Yeah, and that becomes the seizure-inducing. The seizure-inducing
lightning, which strikes everything.
Shooting, they kill everybody. She's getting more and more nasty. What's her name?
Credence.
Credence, Count Credence, or whatever. And then they all die.
And that's it.
And then literally just.
That's it.
On to them driving home. It
cuts so quick to them, getting home. And they're still eating food. The mom is eating an apple. She goes upstairs and says, "I'm going to shower," or whatever. And then,
"Hey, do you want an apple?" She opens the fridge, there's apples, and "Oh, do you want an apple?"
And then he said he's going to like take a nap or something like that or whatever. And then he goes to see his mom, and before he goes to see his mom, there's like a ball or something.
Yeah, ball comes down and it says, "Yummy, your mom is so good."
Yeah.
And then
which is written in the same writing as in the intro when they meet the family, which we didn't explain.
Yeah, I forgot.
One of the kids throws a baseball to him and basically says that, like, "Eat before we eat you," or something like that. So it's essentially the same thing. I guess baseballs are just antagonizing and creepy.
I guess so. They're good tools. So he reads that.
If you're a screenwriter out there and you don't know how to write a film,
just use baseballs.
Use baseballs.
He goes running up. He opens the bathroom, and there's green juice all over it's like someone dropped their blender, their smoothie all over the shower stall. And he starts freaking out. He's like, "Mommy!" He stops and looks into the staircase really weirdly for a shot, like a weird camera angle, then runs downstairs. And then he finds, I don't know what the fuck, like what's going on here, but he runs into the kitchen, and now there's just goblins eating his mom, I guess.
Yeah, there's just like, you see her tits too.
Yeah. For like, no, and the other time there's nothing. There's just a pile of this goop, one. There's like a weird mannequin with tits and there's fingers in there.
Yep.
And they're like, "Do you want some, Joshua?" And he's like, Home Alone, slaps his face and goes, "Ah!"
And that's it.
And over.
That's it. And that's where Home Alone was inspired.
Yes. Troll 2.
Perfect. God. All right, Scrooge. Let's wrap this up because I know people like me don't want to be here.
Were here.
They
loved it.
All right, what did you love about the film? What did you hate?
Okay, well, I mean, what I liked was
Oh yeah, like just not love. Sorry.
yeah. What I liked is that it had more of, because I mean we pretty much had like a stretch of just straight up bad movies where it was like the stuff is just awful and I can't believe I can get through this.
Mm-hmm.
This one was more of like extra, like so bad it's good, having just horrible dialogue, horrible writing. The music was all over the place with weird ass, you know,
And the music
80s
replays.
electric, yeah, it replays, and then it plays at the weirdest times. You've got some, you know, spooky music, and all of a sudden it's 80s, you know, guitar riffs as they're trying to run chase. So stuff like that was funny.
Guitar solos.
Yeah, the special effects were garbage, so that was funny. Like I said, like, so that's what I did like. I mean, like in the sense of
The
like
acting.
enjoying how bad this stuff was, and then actually it being more enjoyable this time, where I could get a good laugh out of it and get through it. Now, I mean, what I didn't like, I just didn't like the, you know, is it a good movie? Absolutely not. It's horrible. I mean, it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
It's just a, you know, if we're talking about our ratings, I would probably, if we're, you know, we're going to get down to our bed of the
Yeah, I
bone,
don't remember what. So
rating.
those
It's right over there.
right over here.
If I need to, I'll get it for you.
I see it. Okay, got it right
My
here.
good sir down there.
So one is absolutely bad.
yeah,
and
that's
then
straight unwatchable, which is what we've been pretty much doing for the past like 3 weeks.
And then yeah, of course. And then we have 4, which is so bad it's good. So obviously 2 and 3 are in between those. So what would you say?
I would so we got you know, straight bad. Second one is, you know, meh. Third one is enjoyable.
But I probably wouldn't watch it as much.
And then 4 is straight up, it's so bad it's good. I love it because it's so bad. I would put it at like I'd say I'd probably give it like a 3 myself.
Nice.
I think 3, like I said, because
That's a lot higher than I thought you'd make it.
3 again because of the enjoyability factor. Like this is one of those ones where I could actually sit through it with somebody and enjoy it, how bad it is, because it's like almost like mind-numbingly dumb how like this movie even got made.
Yeah.
And how horrible it is. So that's why. Because if you asked me, hey, let's watch it again sometime, I would. If someone else who loves bad movies was like, hey, I want a new one, I'd be like, oh, let's watch this if you haven't seen it. So that's why I'd put that. It's probably like either 3 or 3.5. How about yourself?
I see. Like for you, I thought you were gonna put it at like 2 or like 1. Like you were really gonna rate this low.
No,
but I noticed.
Like I said, in this case, because those other ones, I'd never watch them again.
Yeah, in comparison,
Yeah.
that makes
This
sense.
I would, because it is really horrible. It's one of the worst things I've seen, but I could watch it because it's so bad. It's to make fun of.
Well, I thought throughout this film, you know, when we watch a new movie, a lot of the times I'm like, is this the worst film we've seen? And to be honest, I still think the worst film that we have seen throughout all of our different movies. These episodes might be out of order, so if we don't get to it and it's not on when we're dropping it.
Yeah.
Going Overboard, we talk about, I think is easily the worst film that we've watched.
That or Theodore Rex for me.
Theodore Rex was bad, but Going Overboard was one of the most painful movies I've ever sat through.
Yes.
T-Rex, I can kind of have some fun with it. I get it, but I would say for Troll 2, I would say probably strong 4.
Strong 4.
100%.
Yeah.
I own this movie on DVD.
I know, yeah, you do.
You know that I like to watch it. I knew it was a popular bad movie, but to me, it surpasses that. I think that there are worse movies than this. I think the reason why it's a popular bad movie is because it's fun, and you can watch it with your friends, and you can joke about it. You can just, you know how bizarre and fun it is.
Uh-huh.
It parts of it doesn't really take itself too seriously. It's a little bit fantasy, less horror at certain parts, but I think like you were saying, the soundtrack is awesome. Absolutely love how 80s and goofy it sounds just like a video game from Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, kind of
for no reason.
Just super goofy and fun. It's a harmless movie. I think that you could rewatch this plenty of times and notice things that you didn't watch. For example, like tonight, there was things that I didn't know. Like the end, I completely forgot about that sandwich scene. Probably because I'm usually doped up by the end of the viewing, or I'm very tired enough to even watch it. So
he's talking about heroin, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
just so you know.
And we're gonna go straight to rehab after this episode as well. So
yeah.
100%. I love this movie. I think it's so fun. It's so batshit crazy, and I think that somebody who's not even into bad movies could have a fun time watching this movie because.
Would you say it's a classic movie?
I don't know if I'd go that far because I'm not gonna say it because I know you're waiting for me to say classic, but I would definitely say.
What was that?
I don't know. I mean, let's just let the listeners wait for the T-Rex episode and we'll get to it.
Crazy.
All right, awesome. Well, everybody out there, I recommend this movie.
Yeah,
I think
I would say definitely. If you want to get the full enjoyment, though, get people who have a good time watching movies
with good humor, who won't take it too seriously because there's so many plot holes and so much weird logic in this movie that.
Yeah, that's one thing. Is definitely if you have friends that take it too seriously, don't ever watch movies like this with it. No, don't ever. You would because I could picture it right now. You're all excited. You're like, oh, I can't wait for them to watch this awful movie, and then they sit there and for like the next hour and a half, they just question everything,
every little thing.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't do it. Just
not worth it
with the right people. Fun, like to laugh. Yes, absolutely. Check it out.
And so we watched this, and I thought, like why I brought it up. I said it's starting to be spooky time in New York. It's kind of around here. It's what's October. I don't even know the date.
4th now.
4th now, yeah. So it's getting into spooky season, and I thought maybe. Because I don't really know that many bad horror movies, to be honest, because I'm a horror head, so I think every horror movie is good. But this is always well known as one of the worst, absolutely worst horror movies. But the more I watched it, I'm like, wait, it's really not scary. It's not even remotely scary.
No.
There's some, I guess goblins and trolls themselves can be creepy, but they can also be in a fantasy sense.
Creepy, but the point was that this movie isn't scary.
No.
Okay?
No, there's nothing about this movie.
And they tried to. Well, it's scary, but not in the way that they intended.
No, it's scary that they made this film and that people actually put money into this film. But the ending, they're trying to make it scary. Like the whole last scene when they return to the house and him running around the house, and they're trying to make this weird kind of scary cliffhanger kind of. It's just just enough. Just give it up.
Yeah, because it's the rest of the family's all dead, I guess. Or was that supposed to be the family?
Maybe the family was the goblins.
That's why that's why the last one said, "Do you want some, Joshua?" It's I don't know.
Who knows? Let's just stop thinking about this movie.
Yeah, you
good?
Should talk.
Yeah. All right. Well, all those people that are drunk from all of the drinking games that we had throughout this movie,
sleep it off.
Really, just take your time, and we're gonna take our time too after this.
Absolutely. I got a detox.
I'm flying to Hawaii actually next
week. Hard ticket?
Yeah.
You got a hard ticket to Hawaii?
I got a hard ticket to Hawaii to relax after this. So. No, actually, I'm going to be freezing my ass off because it's getting cold here. It's getting spooky and cold.
Don't remind me.
On its way. All right, Scrooge. Well, it was a blessing to have you witness this.
And a curse.
Yeah, this atrocity.
Thank you so much.
All right, I'm AC.
I'm Scrooge.
And this really was.
Real bad movie.
I was like, wait, how are we going to say that? But whatever.
Like that.
I'm leaving. Goodbye.
That's the thing about this movie is that it actually has a strong message, which are vegetarians are the worst. Anybody listening out there, if you happen to live the lifestyle of never eating meat, I want to tell you I personally hate you and everything you stand for. So I actually want to take this moment to thank the director of this film because really when you get down to it, this was a coming-of-age tale of why vegetarians are the worst because you try to be nice to them, you try to be accommodating, and instead what they do is they want to make sure they convert you into plants so they can eat you because really we think that meat is the corruptible thing that kills us all.